site's already muted. What's going on, everybody? I like wait for someone else to do the introduction, and then I'm like, oh, no, Sam's not going to say anything, and Alejandro is in his Bruce Wayne mode. So I'm going to bring us in with what's up, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of the Think Big podcast. Shout out to Abraham being inside here before it even got started. Shout out to Nate Freeze. Hooked it up last week at the ASU meetup, which was insane. They had the one and only Sam Singh speaking at ASU, which was just phenomenal. Seriously blown away every time you get on stage and speak, brother. That was so cool. Nate, we got to meet your family. What's up, John? Today, we're going to be talking about finding your niche inside of real estate. But as you can see, we got Alejandro on the stage. We got Sam on the stage. And we are joined by the Catherine Martinez. And we are hanging out. She was here for the mastermind this weekend. At the Mind Over Matter Mastermind. She's staying in town. She's networking. She's doing real estate. She's doing her thing, connecting with people, letting them know to come to her for Gator transactions and buying properties out in the Carolinas. But I'm excited to have her here because it's rare that we ever get to have like a co-host in person. Sam was supposed to stay in Arizona, but he ran away. He ran back to Fresno, said he missed the farms and missed the cows. So he left us.
I could only take so much shirtless Marlin, bro.
Dude, you didn't even stay in my closet this time, man. Like,
next time.
But what are we discussing today? We're talking about finding your niche inside of real estate, inside of business. Like, break this one down for our audience. Like, give us like a little bit of a guideline on what is finding your niche, why does it matter, and why are we talking about it?
Is it niche or niche? Is that?
I say niche. What do you?
I think it's niche.
The only way to say it is niche.
Yes.
The only
Niche. Why does it sound like it's an SH? I thought it was niche. Did I have it wrong this whole time?
I
I think it's niche. I think it's a French word. You know what? You guys talk. I'm going to Google this. I'm going to find out.
Yeah. Why don't we ask ChatGPT?
Catherine confirmed it was a French word.
I think it's a French word, yes.
All right. Fair enough. Cool. Finding your niche. We're going to be going over on how to properly find your niche, right? Because a lot of people want to get into real estate and they get very excited about multiple different options on how to get into real estate. And you get overwhelmed to a point where you just don't want to do it anymore. And it doesn't have to be real estate. It could be something else. I don't know. Maybe your niche can be jumping out of a plane, skydiving. I don't know. It could be that, or it could be going on a 100-mile run every month. Who knows? But it's multiple ways to figure that out. And honestly, the best way, the easiest, simplest way that I can explain it is by finding out who you're not. That's how you can find out your niche.
I'm over here just like laughing at like the comment section right now on this like discussion of niche. And I popped over in Instagram for a second and like Natalie's going like, I thought it was niche, right? Like we got different people just like, yeah. So apparently niche, and niche.
Well, I got outvoted, so I'm just gonna go with niche.
Yeah. Either way, we're moving forward with finding your niche, but I love it because this is something that is rather important. In fact, Catherine, you and I were basically just sitting here talking about this probably for the last hour and a half, going over understanding what your focus is going to be, what your niche is, and really what you're dialed in back at home, because there's this fallacy in business, which is I need to go and diversify, right? It's a fallacy in business and it's a fallacy in investment. And it's not that diversification is a bad strategy. It's diversification is a strategy that is very advanced and for high level entrepreneurs and operators. I like to say diversity and diversification is a strategy for the wealthy, right? It's a strategy that really is prioritized on preserving wealth, but not accumulating it. You're not going to build wealth diversifying. You're going to save it. You're going to protect it. You're going to mitigate risk through diversification. But to actually get to that place where diversification can produce really spoils that matter, like that are noticeable in your day-to-day life, in your business, and in your growing of your portfolio, that doesn't come till later and later and later down the road after hundreds of millions of dollars are being produced. And now they need to be protected. So I'm excited about this because I know every time in my business, whenever I've been able to niche down, I have been able to produce more money. And just niching down, I'm going to give you guys like my definition of this. It is identifying the avatar that you wish to serve and the problem that you wish to solve for them. That's my understanding of niche. Like that's my third grade personal understanding of niching down. And when I first stepped into real estate, for example, and could we, by the way, change that the Think Big brand logo so it has the white, like it's inside of Alejandro's like bat cave. So like I don't think anyone sees the white words on it.
Check me out. Bam.
There we go. Look at that. Like that's creative problem solving right there. And right now, by the way, Alejandro, like you're sitting inside of my circle, inside of like my ring light. So I'm just looking good. Looking good. With niching down though, when I stepped into real estate, one of the very first things I did, I know personally, was I identified who it was I wanted to serve. And for me in my business, it looked like serving tired landlords. I purposefully targeted people who were 65 years and older, who owned 5 or more properties in their personal name. And the reason I targeted them was because I understood them really well. Growing up, my grandmother was my best friend. And so I like to talk to grandma, and she would always tell me about how her joints are achy and her back is tired, but she can't ever sit down. She's like, she likes to move and go and be productive and be useful. But at the same time, she was like, man, like I do so much. And so it occurred to me that there's an entire target audience of my grandmas out there, but instead of like folding laundry and cooking cooking food, they're out there mowing lawns and cutting grass and just going and chasing around knucklehead tenants to get the rent. So I got the way with the grandmas, you already know. And so that became like my niche inside of real estate. I was going out and I was wholesaling directly to tired landlords. Those were my people, 65 years and older, 5 properties or more in their personal name, not an LLC. And typically the pain and the problem they had was they were looking to offload the portfolio. But unfortunately, the grandkids or the kids didn't want it. They were out doing something else, and nobody wanted to inherit all the work they did because they were self-employed and not business owners. So by niching down and understanding them, I got to learn so much more about those people than they might have even known about their own situation. And the power of doing so allowed me to be way more effective in communicating with them and beat out the competition, just because I understood my avatar so much better than sometimes they even understood themselves, to the place where I almost looked like an oracle talking to them, because I was able to talk about things that they never even said, but they were experiencing. And I was able to predict what would happen next as a result of me becoming an expert on that particular person and their particular problems. So I just kind of wanted to lay that foundation and framework for why it's so important to niche down and why we're even talking about this. But that's me after I found my niche. I'm curious, what did y'all do to find your niche? Because quite frankly, in that stage where that niche worked really well for me, and when I say really well for me, I'm talking I was doing about 2 to 3 deals per month with just me and one VA. Jella was like her name. And it was just me and her as just a 2-person team doing 2 to 3 deals per month consistently, month after month after month. And so that worked really well for that time in my life, but I fell into that on accident. So I'm curious, how would one go about not being an accidental niche finder and maybe building out a niche on purpose?
Sam, you want to take this one?
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about me specifically in my journey. I'll say this. It is easy to know, in my opinion, what niche you are based on your compatible avatar. So for me, when I got into this industry, I had no money. I had all the time, right? No money, all the time. And I sounded really damn good on the phones. So by nature of that, I knew that a sales position would be better for me. And then in sales, we've got cold callers, we've got lead managers, we've got long-term follow-up specialists, we've got, in sales, we've got even disposition specialists. And then more importantly, the most important is we've got closer, the person that goes in for the kill effectively, right? And what I found is that for me, that avatar was closer. And what I did is I had to go and put myself, and I didn't go as narrow as Marlon did with tired landlords and becoming almost list specific. I just went role specific. I embraced that as my niche. My niche is being a closer and a closer alone. So what did I do? I put myself on 8 different teams and positioned myself as an acquisitions guy, as a closer for 8 different teams, and got them all to funnel all their leads to me. And I lived in that. I did not do follow up. If I had a call and I presented an offer and tried to go for a close, and they said no to it, I did not follow up. I literally was niching and becoming a one-call closer specialist. Like, that was it for me. But that's it in kind of in a nutshell. What about you, Alejandro?
I would say it's very similar, and it's going to depend on everyone's personal experience to definitely find out that niche. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to get used. By the way, that is how you pronounce it, niche. I asked ChatGPT, and they put Neesh. So I lost there. I'm over here saying niche, and I'm like, okay, that sounds a lot better. However, for me, what worked was I've been in sales since I was 16. I'm going to be 31 this year, which is crazy. So I've been in sales since I was 16, and getting into other businesses like door to door or transferring over to dealerships and stuff like that. I didn't want to be the guy driving the car around to show it. I just want to be the guy closing the deal. So every time I try something new and I dislike it, it's not that I didn't pursue it. If I had to do it to achieve whatever I need to achieve, I will do it. But there's certain things that I just enjoy a lot more. And I'll give you like an example. If you feel very excited to repeat this process over and over and over every single day without having to drag your feet, that's probably a sign that that's more likely your niche. That's where you need to be. Because for me, any other things that I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with this today, I'm going to eliminate it immediately, especially if I'm really good at doing certain things that can propel the company forward. And I'm going to be in a different position, obviously, because I have different companies. So for me, it's like, what can I do? And I came to realize that solving big problems is something that I really enjoy. I don't know what it is, but having someone come to me with a problem that they've been trying to figure out for the whole week, and I can instantly figure that out in less than 3 minutes. It's like, wow, am I special? I got something unique here. Like, why didn't you just think of this? Like, man, how do you know? I don't know. And honestly, I would probably guess based off the books I'm reading, being great friends with people like Sam and Marlon. We text each other and brainstorm together on certain problems. That could be part of it. But it's really fun for me to see someone struggling with something, and I can come in and help. I'm like, hey, here's what we do. And I've had like I spoke to one of our members here. We have a AEO elite members, and he was talking to me about, hey man, I've been doing this for 5 months. Got one contract, made like $2,000 on it. What am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I'm like, okay, well, can I ask you, what do you feel really good at? He was like, well, I'm good at getting this seller or agent interested, but after that, it's like, what do I go next? Like after the closing, like I just can't really deliver. I can't take it to the finish line. It's really daunting, or it's overwhelming, or there's just a situation there where he just doesn't feel like he knows much. I'm like, oh, okay. So you're good at finding the leads. You're good at getting them open to creative finance. You just don't really feel good at delivering yet. It's like, yeah, okay. Why don't we partner up? You can go find it, get someone interested, and I will close it for you. I will take it to the finish line. I will do the TC stuff, which is pretty tedious. And when I say me, it's like the company, and we'll help you do the disposition. And he was like, oh, yeah, I feel like a lot of weight just left the room here. Like now I can focus on what I'm really good at, because he wants to make X amount per month. But if you're stuck at doing things that just really slows you down, it's always going to get to a point where you feel very discouraged, and perhaps even get you to a point where you want to quit. But when you're around the right people and delegate the things that you're not good at, it keeps you in a momentum and keep you steady and consistent in where you want to be to get you to your next goal. So that's, in a nutshell, that's really what it is for me. It's kind of similar to Sam. It's like, I know what I'm good at by doing other certain things, and figure out what I'm really good at by just taking action on it and see what the results are.
So I like that, right? And so I'm curious, right, Kathleen, as you're going through and you're in your business and you're building out, where do you feel your niche is right now? And I know you and I have been like having this conversation all throughout the weekend, actually, as we dive into it. But I also think it's important to like share with people as like we're going through the journey. Because is it safe to say, fellas, that your niche changes as you grow and evolve as an entrepreneur?
1000%.
Where would you say your niche is at?
Honestly, just finding, the Gator, basically, so just connecting, bringing that resource that brings the money to the deal.
Right. So being the resource, and this is cool, right? Because how did you discover, like, what was the journey for you in realizing like, oh, I have this capacity to bring money to the deal?
I mean, it's a combination of things, but I mean, for example, I already have, another business. So of course, just like you were talking about the buckets. So I have somewhere that, is already producing me money that I can actually, pour into the Gator business. And so, yeah, it's just kind of like, it's like everybody's saying things that kind of one correlates to the other, where it's like on accident, you realize like, wait, I have a resource. There's people that need this resource. So instead of me trying to, reinvent the color wheel, right, let me just go ahead and use what I have and actually, provide that as a resource to others.
I love that. And so I like what you just said too. And this is like for everyone that's listening, what you want to pay attention to is you looked at what are the resources I have. Because if any of you have ever listened to Sam, you hear Sam talk about this. Like typically as an entrepreneur, you have one of three things. You either have time, you have money, or you have experience, right? There's one of those three things you have. And you have to sit down and be objective about what do I have right now? Do I have more time? And like Sam said in the beginning, he had nothing but time, but he was broke as a joke, right? He didn't have any money. So he was able to leverage his time to build experience, AKA go and get a skill. And then he just spent all his time working and deploying the skill to eventually make money. Now that he makes money, he actually flips it and he uses his money to go and buy himself more skills and also buy other people's time. Because like you and I were talking earlier, everyone out there in the world is selling their time at a deep, deep discount. It's insane how cheap people sell their time for. Right, like even like we have attorneys who sell their time for as cheap as $2,000 an hour, as cheap as $5,000 an hour. Right, we have coaches out there who have gone and accumulated 20 years of knowledge and are willing to sell their time for $20,000 for a weekend or $50,000 for a mastermind. And you're just like, oh my gosh, you're willing to give away everything you spent the last 4 decades learning for $50,000. Like I can capture 4 decades worth of life experience, knowledge, relationship for that little bit of money. And if any of you are like, did Marlon just call $50,000 a little bit of money? Yes, I did when we're comparing it to time. Because when we're comparing it to time, and Catherine and I were having this conversation earlier where I asked the simple question of, if I offered you $100 million tomorrow, right? And I'm going to ask Alejandro this. Alejandro, if I offer you $100 million tomorrow, right, would you take that money?
It depends on the context.
It's not a trick question.
Right. But I like what he says, right? It depends on the context, right? Because, if there were no strings attached, Alejandro would probably say yes. However, if I threw in the stipulation that Alejandro, I'll give you this $100 million, but it means that tomorrow, February 7th, will be your last day on earth. That February 8th, when it rolls around, you don't wake up. Would you still take that money?
No.
Not at all. So effectively, you're telling me that tomorrow is worth over 100,000. It's worth over $100 million. So then sometimes like we look at, well, why would I not pay other people to come in and fill a role in my life if they're willing to trade their time at $15 an hour, $20 an hour, whatever the case may be? Right? Because I can only niche down on one thing at a time. So if I can pay someone else who's niched down on something else, how powerful would it be to bring that person into my life? Because a part of finding your niche is also finding what isn't your niche right now. Right? A part of knowing what it is you're going to be an expert in and what you're going to focus on is also understanding you're building out at the exact same time the list of the things you're not going to focus on. which arguably is the more difficult thing that I can say as an entrepreneur. I've failed at plenty of times. I've gotten shiny object syndrome like everyone else. And the times that I do get myself to sit and be focused, arguably it can feel like slower progress is being made. But then when the exponential curve of just compound interest starts to kick on, you're extremely grateful that, wow, I'm so happy I stuck it through to get to this point. But that doesn't happen if your focus is going in 12 different directions. So knowing that y'all, we all kind of like fell into it based on resources, I'm curious, what would you say for a person who is, okay, I just got started, right? Can you give me like a 1, 2, 3 step to understanding how I might discover my niche? Do I just throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks? Is there a test I can take? Is there a thought process I should go through? Should I be just asking myself the simple question of, do I have time, money, or experience, and working backwards from there? And arguably, like, just help. Where do I start? Like, Sam, Alejandro, where do I start?
I'm a big advocate of starting really wide and really broad, right? Like, the reason why we say time, money, and experience is because those are 3 very easy things for someone who knows nothing about anything to be able to determine, right? I know that I don't have a job and I'm not working and I'm living at home with mom and dad, right? I know that. So I have time. Or I've got $250,000 in the bank account right now, but I'm busy being a dentist, so I've got money. Or my dad was a real estate investor, my mom was a real estate investor, and I managed their portfolio of 42 properties. Great, I have experience now, right? So I say start extremely broad to start narrowing. And every time you do that, you go through the step of like starting very broad, narrowing. Great, I've got money. I've got money, but no time. Phenomenal. The next level, you know what ends up happening? You eliminate so many strategies that will not work for you. And then the deeper you go, every level you start asking yourself, great, I've got money, but no time. Awesome. How much money? Do I've got 100 grand or do I have 10 million? Do I've got 10 mil? Do I've got 100 grand or do I have access to a hedge fund that my grandpa owns? Once you start asking these questions, the compatibility chart just ends up morphing ridiculously. So I say go broad, narrow down, reverse engineer. Eventually, at some way, I think it's really important to understand who you are and do a self-assessment and like, what are my personality traits? What do I like? What do I hate? Do I like other people? There's people who love other people, and there's people who hate human beings, and they don't want to talk to anybody. There's people who hate being on the phone. Great, if you hate being on the phone, like, if you hate being on the phone, but you've got nothing but time, great. All of sales is out of the door. You have all the time in the world, but you hate being on the phone. And then now you have left a handful of things that are still compatible. And what you're eventually going to do is narrow it down probably to 2 or 3 things instead of 25 things. So I'm a huge advocate of reverse engineering.
I love it. Let me ask this question. When it comes to reverse engineering as well, how, like, I'm not going to answer it because I'm not even going to ask the question. I just want to make the statement. You want to know clearly too what the end vision looks like, because it's really hard to reverse engineer what you're not sure of. I could put I used to play with puzzles when I was younger. Imagine how impossible it would be to put a puzzle together if you didn't get that box where like it had the picture on the outside, right? Like, and like you understood, oh, we're putting together a castle and there's supposed to be a waterfall to the left and there's a car parked over there and Harry Potter's flying by on a broomstick. Like, you have to know what the end picture looks like. And so oftentimes I find that folks are trying to reverse engineer. And when I ask them, quite frankly, like, hey, what's your goal? And they just say, like, I want to build a business. Okay. Like, what's that mean? Because saying I just want to build a business, do you want to build a good business, a profitable business, a business that's doing $500,000 a year, a business that's doing $5 million a year, a business doing $500 million, a business that's brick and mortar, that's franchised, a business that has multiple employees, a business that has one employee? Like, it's not a clear vision. And so it's hard to even begin to piece yourself into this and niche yourself into this. and start building it if you're not sure yet what the final image needs to look like. And this is a question, or more like a conversation I have when I talk to high-level entrepreneurs, and we're just sitting down, and it's really just, I guess, like you could call it cigar talk, or it's just like that relaxed, chill, hangout conversation. I often find we're having, I call it vision talk.
Yes.
And I look at it like you have a son, right?
Mhm.
And like, like when you get together with another parent, y'all like start talking about the kids a little bit, like, hey, he did this, and it's just like she did this, and y'all start talking about your kids, and then you're almost like, hey, we should get our kids together and see if they like each other, if they want to play. And so then the kids come together and they play. And I find entrepreneurs, visionaries, we do the same thing. I'm sharing with you my vision because like my vision is my baby, and then you're sharing me with your vision, and we're seeing, do our visions like hang out? Do they connect? Do they want to play together?
Yeah.
Right. And now it's like, hey, based on what you're doing in your niche and what I'm doing in my niche, we can start to plug and play our independent resources to really see our kids, our visions grow even faster in the right direction. Right. But we have to know what that is. Right. We should almost have like a vision party. How cool, by the way, how cool would that be if you showed up to a party? What if we did an event? I'm just going to throw this out there. We do an event. And when you show up to this event, regardless of where you are in your business, like maybe the first 30 minutes, it's like a theme party, like the first hour, you have to show up as the most like evolved version of yourself in your vision, like living in your truth. So when you show up with the confidence of the fact that like Sam Singh, billionaire, right? And talk to me about that vision. And Alejandro, I want you to show up as Bruce Wayne, right? And what happens is when you come in, we just immediately start to talk about, hey, what is your mind focused on right now? Right? Like, what is that goal? What is that vision? What is that dream? And talk to me with confidence. Don't talk it to me with hesitation, right? Like, own it. Because I find that when you start to own it, because everyone starts somewhere. And I find the people, like one of my favorite things about Sam was he's had this level of confidence about him since, and it's not a cockiness, it was a confidence since the day I met him, even before he'd accomplished what he's accomplished. And I would argue that because he decided to get clarity on who he was and to really build out the character of Sam Singh, to really build out that future version of him and live into it, was why he was able to get there in such a short period of time. Alejandro, the exact same thing. Catherine, as I'm here with you over this weekend, I've been watching you. You're like, yeah, you're constantly like chiseling away even more so. And you're revealing like, okay, yeah, she has an idea, an image of who that like highest level version of yourself is. And you're now just revealing it to the rest of us. Like you already know who she is, but you're just chipping away at it for the rest of us to finally be able to see. Like how cool would it be to have a party where people show up like that? Just saying.
I don't know, Sam, I don't know if I ever told you, bro, but you really helped break a certain barrier of belief when we first started hanging out, obviously via phone. So we rarely meet in person, but I remember Sam was kind of like the new kid on the block when he first joined Sub2, and like maybe like a couple months in, he's already talking about scaling like into millions and millions of dollars. I'm like, who is this guy? What do you mean millions of dollars, bro? Like I'm still struggling trying to get to $300,000 a month in this business. You're talking about millions and X amount. I'm like, this guy's right. He has a point. Why not?
You know
And
what the point of that
I love
was?
that energy. What was that?
You know what the point of that was?
What was it?
That's it. It's simple. I mean, at the time, was I making millions? No. Was I doing 7 figures in revenue at the time? Hell no. But to me, it was already done. Time had just not caught up yet. And that's it. And guess what, guys? Time is catching up. We're here now. We're here now. All three of us are. Catherine is too. So think big.
I want to answer this question because Anthony Johnston asked a really good question. And I want to hear everyone's answers, including yours, Catherine, on this one, which was what's giving y'all the confidence to, like, the confidence before you had it, right? In other words, what gave you confidence in your vision and in your dream before certain pieces of it had ever even manifested? I want to know that. So, Sam, you want to take that one first, man?
Yeah, it's not confidence. Truly, because I want to be very specific with the word confidence. I like the word conviction a little bit more, just because conviction is legitimate belief, and belief without seeing, belief without knowing, belief, hell, even if there isn't evidence there. For me, it was actually really simple. I was raised by a single mom in the hood who raised 4 boys and went through hell and suffering for us to be here in the greatest country on earth, to have the opportunities that we have. It is simple. I'm going to be a billionaire and help the world, because any less would be dishonoring her sacrifice. And with every ounce of my life force, I refuse to dishonor her sacrifice. So every day I go into this, every day I operate, every day I move and I work and I do new things. I do it not with the confidence or with the arrogance that it's going to happen. It is literally 90-year-old Sam looking back at Sam right now saying, it happened because you refused to dishonor her sacrifice. So for me, it's straight up that. It is a decision more than anything.
Love that.
Mm.
Yeah, Catherine's dad. Oh, let's hear it.
No, because Anthony also said, like, says that because he's been speaking into existence, but unfortunately hasn't seen any results. Part of me being here in the mastermind this weekend, you just kind of have to look at your life from a perspective of you have already done it. That's what helped me feel this way, like, oh my God, I can definitely do this. So we did an exercise where we were pretty much, we just like run across a friend that we haven't seen in a year. And let's say like a year from now, you're talking to that person and you're saying, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. What's been going on? And then you just say, you know what? I created $1 million business in the last year. I wanted to buy a house for my mom. I did it already. And the more you say it to yourself and the more that you repeat it, you're like, oh my God, this actually feels attainable. So even though it's not like you have the confidence from the beginning, but just feeling that feeling of accomplishment that you will feel at that moment, and you chasing that feeling is going to motivate you to get there, And then when you start taking small steps towards that, that motivation is going to get higher and higher and higher. And then you're going to be an expert at whatever area you chose to do,
So I absolutely love that. And I agree with you, because I come from a sports background. And so I always find myself relating life, business, everything back to a sport. And I remembered so much from years of skateboarding, snowboarding, parkour. I would feel the tricks internally before I would ever actually go out and execute on them in the real world. I would actually sit there and I would like see it and feel it. And it would I had this knowingness of like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I might not have landed it yet. I might not have done it yet, but internally I feel it. I'm going to make this happen. So I agree with Sam in the word choice of conviction, because a conviction is this knowing like you know, like you know, like you know. It's for whatever reason. And we look at some of our greatest innovators, Steve Jobs, one of them. He is plagued or was plagued with what some refer to as reality distortion. In other words, he failed to see the same reality that everyone else saw. So when they said that company is not going to take off, when they said that's a dumb idea, when they said it can't be done, he said it can be done and go and do it. In fact, if you came to him and said something was an impossibility, his reality was so distorted that he would actually find that as a reason to fire you. That was grounds for you're out of here. So when the next person came in and he says, can you do it? The next person was smart enough to say, yes, I can. Yes, I can. So having that deep level of conviction, and I would say also a big thing, what's up, Oscar? I would say a big thing that personally helps me have that conviction before it actually has occurred is measuring the inputs, right? Like, so this is a big thing. I start to look at my goal, and this was something I didn't always do, but I had to come back to, is instead of just basing the success on, did I accomplish the goal? Did I make the money? Did I close the deal? I started to gauge success on, am I doing the activity that would produce the output? And so when you're doing the activity, it's really hard to not believe that it will eventually work, right? Like it's really, really hard to not believe that if I keep doing 100 push-ups a day, eventually my chest and my arms will get bigger. that if I keep running every day, eventually I'll be able to finish a marathon. That if I keep trying to ollie the skateboard, eventually the board will come off the ground. If I'm just going out and I'm just like, I'm going to do this 100 times for an hour every day for the next until it happens. Right. So the conviction comes because then you're able to look backwards on, while I'm doing all the inputs. And because I'm doing the inputs, the output is guaranteed. I'm planting all of the seeds. Something eventually will grow. What about you, Alejandro?
For me, it's a complete different experience for me, because I would say to build that confidence, you have to do the opposite of being lazy. That's how you build that confidence, which is not doing what 99% of other people are doing in the world, which is being more lazy, not becoming successful. There's a very small percentage of humans that are becoming successful. And to do so, you have to go through a lot of stress. You got to do a lot of hard shit. You have to own up to it. And I've always been like that ever since, like you, Marlon, very similar. I've always been into sport. My mom always put me in karate, kickboxing, always put me in baseball. So for me, it's like I hated losing. And this is another quality from successful entrepreneurs. Just they're not obsessed with winning, they're obsessed with not losing. And it's a very good quality to have. And to not lose, you have to not be lazy. And that's where, going through the whole 75 hard thing, the Live Hard program, working out twice a day in uncomfortable situations, reading 10 pages a day, taking a picture, going through a diet, et cetera, stuff like just doing things that makes you uncomfortable, but also propel you forward. So not being lazy is how you build that confidence. And also being around people like Sam and Marlon, people that can tell you, hey, dude, I'm sure 200,000, 300,000 a month is cool, but $1 million is better. I'm like, holy shit, you're right. How the heck do we get there? And then you go find the resources to get there, because there's people doing it. And bro, it's crazy. Yep. I was in a chat room and I was asking people, if you only had 30 days to make $100,000, what would you do? And people were laughing. It was like, dude, ask a better question, sell your kidney. I'm like, what is this? What are we talking about? It's like, yeah, man, like that's impossible. I'm like, damn it, I'm in the wrong chat room. Let me go find someone else. And instantly people would tell me, oh, dude, easily go look into real estate, multifamily, assign a deal, do vacant land, JV with someone that has a seven figure spread on the deal, whatever. Just do certain things like that. You get tons and tons of different ideas. So being around right people is definitely very important. If you're around people that are lazy and making $50,000, $60,000 a year, you're probably going to make $50,000, $60,000 a year, and you're going to be lazy. But if you're around people like Marlon or Sam that are propelling forward to become multi-billionaire in the future, then you're always going to be motivated to do so. So that's where you get that confidence from. And it starts internally in your belief system. And your belief system is equivalent to how you surround yourself with, what you surround yourself with.
Yeah. And something interesting, right? And as you said that, right, like you talked about like surrounding yourself around the right people, which I'm a huge fan of. In fact, this weekend was all about that. This mastermind this past weekend was about surrounding yourself around the right people. I also want to add this caveat to it. It's surrounding yourself with the right people while doing the work that needs to be done.
Oh, yeah.
So not just like, because I'll be honest, like I've hung out with people who make way more money than me. And like after like our one-time interaction, like I got home and I checked my bank account and Catherine, there was no more money. I actually was down some money because like I had to buy gas to get there and like all that. I'm like, well, that's not what I was expecting. But then I hung out around people and they were maybe making calls, like they were doing sales calls. So then I pulled out my phone and I started doing sales calls. And lo and behold, I started to generate leads. I hung out with people who were in better shape than me. And I wasn't just like looking at their like abs, like we were running together. Like this weekend, we went and we climbed the mountain together, right? We went for a run together. Like we did the things. So a big part of also when you spend time with the Sams and the Alejandros and the Catherines, it's actually doing the thing with them as well, right? Like doing the implementation. I want the people in my life who are going to be like, hey, are you down? Like, in fact, this Saturday, I'm going to be driving out to Scottsdale to go work with another buddy of mine who's local here. He's a local entrepreneur in Arizona. and we're literally going to do a working session on Saturday. Right, we're bringing the laptops out. We got about a 4-hour working session on our calendar where we're just going to be working, right? Working in our businesses, doing the work together. Right? It's kind of like if you're going to go and do a drive along with a person. Like I used to invite people to come out with me, right? Shout out to Nate Freeze, right? Like on the weekends, what does he do? He invites people. This dude invites people to his apartment to make calls, right? Like let's not just talk about real estate. Like let's be about real estate right here on the spot. You're out here, you're staying longer. You extended your stay through Arizona, and you're going to be here on Thursday for an event. That's all. It's an implementation event. It's all about just, hey, let's do the work. So a big part of that too is like as you start to niche down and you understand more about who you are, find your school of fish to swim with. Right? Like do that. Like go and find, and it doesn't mean you need to be with them 24/7, right? But create those pockets, like an hour a day. We used to have our virtual, I don't know if have you ever done like a virtual office?
No.
So what I did was a virtual office. I would actually go and open up a Zoom room, and it would be other people, guys like Alejandro and Sam who were in there, guys like Keston, guys like, you know, I used to have Maurice and Will Ayarza inside there, and everyone was just coming and they were just on the phones, like a boiler room, ripping calls because we were all isolated at home. Like Sam was stuck in the hills of Fresno, and like it was just him and the cows, and you know, he needed some of that human companionship. So we would all get on the Zooms. But when we got on there, it wasn't to just talk. It was literally like we were all basically muted, but we were all making calls. We were able to body double one another. Major game changer. Major game changer. So, yeah, John says it's the valleys. He's in the valleys of Fresno. So,
Yo, that's crazy that you mentioned virtual office, Marlon. I recorded a video to release tonight on Instagram about the benefit of virtual office. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's huge, right? Because again, when you get around the people and you're doing the thing together, you're doing the activity. No, the best again, being a sports person, it's like if we're gonna work out together, that doesn't mean I'm gonna sit down and watch you work out, right? It means I'm gonna come and lift with you. That's how we improve. That's how we get better. But at the same token, I gotta know, we're talking about niching down. I gotta know who I am and what I'm wanting to accomplish. Because if you're training for ballet and I'm training for bobsledding, those are two different trainings.
Yeah.
Two different trainings. So, what's Nate say? Yeah, Nate's got a good question over here. Let's pull it up on the screen. It says, Pace asked me to add up the 5 people I spend the most time with, add up all their money they make and divide it by 5. That's how much money I'll be making. Oh, so good. That is so good. And I actually want people to do that. In fact, after this call, I'm going to be talking to Sam and Alejandro. Like, yo, send me some bank statements.
Yeah, I'm going to text you guys here later on after the podcast. I'm like, let me see that last check stub, bro.
Yeah, but you know what? It's funny because actually this is a question. Shout out to Kevin. Me and Kevin Cho, we didn't hang out for a couple of months. We were just both busy. We were traveling. So although we both live here in Arizona, we were like, you know, flying past each other, right? Never actually getting time to connect. So one day he and I were like, dude, we've been like missing each other. Let's go and connect. He moved into a new apartment recently. So I went over by the new apartment, and within 2 minutes, you know what the first topic of conversation was? It was around like December. It was like right before Christmas. You know what the first question was?
How much you making a year?
How much did you make this year?
Mm-hmm.
All right, like, yo, about what's your take home this year? All right, that was our first question. And we're around the same ballpark on number. So like that was cool. I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm glad to see you're still growing. Glad to see I'm still growing. And next year, what's the goal for how much you want to make? Because the truth is, our circles are changing as a result. Right? The truth is, like, I look at like my friendship with Sam and I look at my friendship with Alejandro, and I understand my friendship with them is contingent on me continuing to get up and grow. And I'm like, damn, they're not making it easy on me either. Like Alejandro and Sam are continuously pushing and growing, where I'm like, fudge nuggets. I got to go make some more money so I can keep Sam as a friend, so I can keep Alejandro as a friend. Like real talk, like I think about like those are legitimate thoughts I have that I'm like, if I want to continue to be friends with Sam in 2025, I need to make more money.
That's crazy. I have the same thoughts about you and Sam all the time.
Ain't it wild?
It's crazy.
Right. And those are good thoughts to have. Like if you're friends, if you don't think I need to make more money to stay friends with my friends, then you probably got broke friends.
Yeah. Sam will probably block me if I say anything less than 7 figures. So I gotta be careful.
I legitimately will. It was so funny. I was in Puerto Rico with Tim Bratz and Pace, and Tim gave Pace one of the best gifts I've ever seen. I thought it was extremely creative. And it was a hoodie, which doesn't sound very, very creative, but what it said on the hoodie was amazing. On the front of it, this was Tim giving this to Pace. On the front, it said, "I set the pace." And on the back, it said, "Try to keep up." And I took that to heart, like right then and there, right? My name's not Pace. That'd be a cool name to have. But right then and there, I'm like, and Marlon, you know this, I've talked about this, where one of my mentors told me to envision all my friends and accept that most of them would not be able to keep up and I would have to outgrow them, right? And the reality is every circle I'm in, I am obsessed with being the front runner in that circle now. I'm obsessed with not catching up to the people in front of me. I look at the people who are in front of me objectively, and my goal is how quickly can I surpass them? Because the second that I surpass them, I'm the top of that room. Now it's time for me to get into a new room. So yeah, I think that's another phenomenal thing, especially when people are getting into it and they're newer. You and I talked about this, Marlon, and this is like a thing at the Mindset Manor, is that there's societally a very hush-hush kind of association to talking about money. Like you don't talk about it. We don't talk about money. We don't ask people about money. We don't ask them how they're doing. We don't ask them what they're netting. We don't ask them what their bank account looks like. But I don't know about you guys. I think it's a priority and it's a requirement to go in and grow. Marlon, you and I are in a mastermind called the 1% Mastermind together. It's you, me, and 2 other guys. And legitimately, it's like every other week, all we do is we set homework goals for how much more money we're going to make in the next 2 weeks. And then just by doing that, there was a month where in 30 days, I made almost $30,000 of new monthly cash flow. That probably wouldn't have happened if we weren't setting that goal intentionally. Like that 30 grand in, not like in assignments in another business, in new cash flow was not there. I could have coasted and just made what I was normally going to make, but we made 30 grand in new cash flow, new recurring cash flow. And it only started when we started openly having the discussion of let's set money goals, not for the year, but not even for the month. It was for the next week and a half until we see each other again. Like, that's huge. That is huge. Okay, I'm sorry. I had to just mention that.
It's important. No, it really is. And, you know, again, like, because like when we talk about niching, and it's funny because when we started this, I, by the way, was totally thinking we were talking about like niching down like on like our client avatar, like on the people we're serving in the marketplace. And then both of you are like, no, we're niching on ourselves. And I'm like, you know what? That makes a ton of sense though, because as you niche down on yourself, recognize, I look at it just like a video game. You're picking the character you want to be. Like this is like World of Warcraft or whatever, right? Like, are you a night elf? Are you a warlock? Or you whatever? And based on the type of character you choose to be, will now determine where do you belong in the world, and among whom are your people. And yesterday, God bless him, I got a client that I work with, and amazing dude. Like he is crushing it, like in all things. He puts in the work. You give him direction. He is highly coachable. He just goes out and he executes. And what his biggest challenge, can y'all guess what? He's a young guy. Can you guess what one of his biggest challenges is? Right? He's highly coachable. He does the work, but there's something that causes him to slow down. What do you think that thing might be?
Self-belief?
Not self-belief. I know I'm not giving y'all much clues on this one. Like I'm just
His surroundings,
the people. He wants to bring all the people with him. And we all know, I mean, and that's why I preface he's a younger man. It's one of the hardest things for us, especially in our youth, to overcome. And some people never get over it. And this is not me saying be a jerk, but recognize when people in your life are acting as anchors, and you've got to drop the anchor. Like you got to let go. Like when I say drop it, I'm talking disconnect it so that you can keep moving forward. But you cannot. In fact, Sam, you might have been the one that told me this, right? It's easier to pull a person up than it is to push them up. And in order for you to be able to pull them up, you need to get to the next level first.
You're climbing a mountain, man. You're climbing a mountain. And if you're on the mountain, the person's ahead of you, and you're trying to grab them by the butt and push them up, you will fail. And when you do that, right, Marlon's going to go for a little grab too. But when you do that, guess what's also happening? Here's what people don't realize when you try to push someone up. The nature and the physics of it. When you push someone up, you are also pushing yourself down, especially if you're on the side of a damn mountain. So what ends up happening is simple. Leave them where they're at and get really damn good at climbing the fucking mountain. It's that simple. Get to the top of it, get to fast as possible, develop yourself, and then reach back out. And it becomes so much easier to pull them up. 1,000%.
That's what we were talking about.
Right?
Yeah.
We literally were just talking about this.
Yep.
And it's something that we have to remind ourselves because it's not our instinctual nature, at least not the people that hang out here, because the people that hang out with us are typically go-givers, right? Also, real quick, if y'all are on Instagram, come hang out on the YouTube channel. Like I'm looking at the comments on YouTube. We got like 100-something people, I think, on the Instagram Live. Comment the word YouTube. Oh, now it's only 6 people. It used to be like 100-something people. But if you're on YouTube, on Instagram, come over to YouTube. We talk about this a lot because we need to constantly be reminded as go-givers, we want to serve everybody. We have to be intelligent and understand how to serve at the highest level. And it's not by dimming your own light. It's actually shining brighter so you can inspire others to do the same. That's actually the way to do it. Right? Show them how to unlock their potential by you simply unlocking your own potential.
Oh, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up. Anthony had here, what has given you guys the confidence before you had it, but he also followed up, said, because I don't know why I can't click anything, but oh, there we go. Did I just, because I have been speaking into existence, but unfortunately haven't seen results yet. So I would say this kind of goes in line with the recent YouTube video that I uploaded, which is expecting it to be easy it's what makes it harder than it is. And if you come in, like, for example, Anthony, if you say I'm going to give it my all for, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months, and expect to be financially successful by then you're setting the incorrect expectations for yourself, which disappointment comes from setting the wrong expectations. I learned this with meditation. I'm like, damn, that really makes sense, because I used to get stressed out a lot about other people not really performing were at their highest potential. And that was because I expected them to perform at the highest potential. But at the time, once I realized to let that go, that's not my position to expect them to perform at a higher standard. I just focus on myself. I was more than what you mentioned at dinner in Arizona, is like, it's stoic personality. Like I'm not happy. I'm not depressed, sad. I'm just going and I'm doing what's required every single day.
Even keel.
I'm not expecting to be happy towards the end of the day. I'm not expecting to be sad towards the end of the day. I'm expecting to do what's required to execute my task that day. And honestly, man, listening to Andy Frisella, he said it took him 10 years to profit from his business. Look at the guy. He has Lamborghinis, Ferraris. He has a tank in his backyard. He bought his dream home. So to me, I'd set some expectations where 10 years from now, I'll be able to do something like that. I'm not expecting it in 3 years, 5 years, 6 years. I'm expecting to fail for the next 10 years, and I'm okay with that.
You can't fail if you don't stop.
Exactly. And if it doesn't happen in 10 years, hey, man, I'm going to keep going. Because at that point, I built so much momentum. I already have the knowledge on how to actually create that financial success. I may not have it, but I have the knowledge to do so. And that's what I'm going to do to continue growing.
Yep.
You say you're 9 months in, and definitely isn't easy. I have submitted 100 of creative deals with 0 conversion rate. And I mean, 9 months, 100 submitted 100 creative deals. I don't know what you mean by that. Maybe like letters of intent, LOIs, or something.
Right. So
What was
he's hundreds of offers. Sounds like after 9 months being in the game with Anthony, by the way, those, you're just doing the work, right? So first off, I'm going to say if you're depending on what your business is, what you're trying to do, right? Especially you're saying to teams, Anthony, it'd be really dependent on what your business is and what you're trying to do, right? If you're trying to build a wholesale business, trying to build a wholesale business off of just creative deals is a lot more difficult than social media may lead you to believe. Sometimes we get the thought process that, oh yeah, like it's not a scalable model, right? Right now, you might be looking at a few outliers, and if you pay attention to where those deals are being sold, you'll find that there's maybe just 3 to 5 like strong, credible, consistent buyers. But there's a reason cash wholesale operation will never fade away as a business model, because there's always going to be distressed properties sold under market value that you can force appreciation into. That is always going to be a thing. So as of late, the marketplace has shifted, so you're able to do more creative deals a little bit easier than times have been in the past. However, at 9 months, I would say you're still just getting started, especially if within those 9 months, you can give me an indication on how many hours you've been putting into 9 months. Oh, especially if you're going after low equity deals, brother, low equity deals suck. I'm going to say that outright. Like, low equity deals suck. And this is my channel. I get to say whatever I want on it. Low equity deals suck. Can you make them work? Sure, you can. I mean, 100%. You for sure can make a low equity deal work. However, I would never build my business on it because it's not a strong foundation to actually scale and to have long lasting success. I would look at being able to do a low equity deal kind of like being able to do a trick shot on the basketball court, right? Or being able to dunk, right? It's dope. Like, we love seeing it, but the game isn't won by trick shots. The game is won by simple free throws and simple layups. Like, that's what wins the game, right? Base hits wins games. And if you're looking for only slam dunks or only grand slam hits every time you get a deal, and that's what those sort of deals typically require if you're going to build a large sustainable business, you're just narrowing the numbers in which you actually get to play. I don't know why I got thrown big here, but what up, Sam? I'm going to pass it over, apparently.
Okay, I wanna hit on this because I don't know why. Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. Whoa, what happened?
I'm not going to name names, but here's the reality, guys. If you're
looking at the comments. By the way, I love the comments. Yo, y'all are seriously. I freaking love you guys when you like drop comments, because it is so much more enjoyable to have a conversation with you and not at you. So like, I freaking love that, Anthony. I love you, Abraham, Rushana. The name I can't pronounce, Yosias. I hope I said your name somewhat correct. But Sam, take it back, bro. I'm going
to say this, guys. The reality is this. I want you guys to have discernment capability. Right now, in your best interest, if you are new, don't focus on low equity. Why? Because they're extremely hard to lock up. They're extremely complicated. They take a ton of time and follow-up. Your buyer pool is actually astronomically small for people who take low equity. A lot of people who say they want a low equity sub 2 deal, guess what? I dispo a shit ton of deals. We're closing 2 deals like tomorrow that are all low equity, non-cash flow deals. And it is so damn hard to get the buyers for it. And then do you guys think you're making big assignment spreads on those deals? Hell no. If you are new, go after cash deals, wholesale cash deals. They're easier to underwrite. They're easier to find. There's about 32,000 times more buyers in the marketplace. You now have hedge funds, family offices. You got so many more people in the mix for it. Don't do low equity. I don't care who is telling you to do it. I don't care how many followers they have on social media. They all have an agenda, and trust me, that agenda doesn't actually serve you. Now, average assignment fee nationwide right now for a cash wholesale deal, which is much quicker and easier to get and to sell, is actually about $17,500. Average assignment fee, from what we can see, my team can see, and we're studying this across the board, for a low equity sub 2 deal is consistently less than $5,000. And if you are new, chances are you're going to get the lead, get the deal, and partner with someone like me to get you the buyer because there's not a lot of buyers for this. Well, guess what? Then your $2,500, $3,000, $5,000 assignment fee just got cut in half. So for your best interest, whoever tells you to do that, don't listen to them. Go do what takes care of you the most. Your family doesn't need you spending 8 months trying to convince a seller to let you take over their no equity and overcome all these objections. Go focus on easy cash deals. Make a $17,500 assignment. Make it easier. 2, I wanted to hit on this just because we always have to prove that we're about what we say we're about. I'm going to backtrack about 10 minutes ago when we were talking about having discussions about money. I actually put it into the Think Big group chat. We actually have a group chat with us. I actually put the last 30 days of production in one of my businesses versus the December, which was the month before, and like all things that are wrong with it, all things that are right with it. Like these boys see exactly what I do, exactly what I make and how I make it. So we're not just saying that and not doing it ourselves. Everything that we say we'll do. So like while Marlon was going on a tear, I'm like, you know what? Let me hold myself accountable and like, let's bring up the actual dashboard of how much money we're actually making in these businesses and share it and hold ourselves to it. Everyone needs to do the same. I am so sorry, Marlon. You had me amped up with that, bro.
No, dude, you're all good. I'm actually going to like my accounts right now to go get y'all that screenshot.
Okay, and last thing, this just clicked in my brain. We had this talk because Marlon, you had a phenomenal keynote speaker for your mastermind. You had Zach Keeps, the #1 private buyer in all of Arizona. If you guys didn't know this, on InvestorLift, he is actually he's ranked #1 in Arizona. The man is a single person hedge fund, essentially. And what did he say? Does he buy with deals that have little to no equity? Hell no. And that dude has over $100 million of real estate. I don't want anyone focusing on that because there's so many problems that come out of it. A lot of you guys don't know this because this is stuff that happens behind the scenes with like leaders. There's tons of issues that happen. People are defaulting left and right on all these no equity deals that don't have cash flow. There's no safety net. There's no wiggle room. And when you go and sell these low equity, no equity deals to other people and that person defaults and the seller finds out and the seller's getting foreclosed on and their credit's up for grabs, guess what? Were they interacting with the buyer the whole time or were they interacting with you, the wholesaler, the whole time? And who's going to get implicated in a lawsuit? Like people don't talk about this, but it's the reality. I know multiple wholesalers right now who are actually being threatened litigation because they sold, honestly, shit deals to crappy buyers who say, yeah, we can handle a low equity, no equity. Marlon, you crush it in business, bro. Alejandro, you crush it in business. Let's be transparent here. I do really well too. Are the three of us, are any of us actually ready to start taking on deals that have no equity?
Not at all. No.
Hell no. Hell no. And I can guarantee you the three of us actually make more money than most buyers in your Facebook communities. And we're not ready to take those deals on. So please, please, please don't get yourself caught up in dumb stuff. If you don't know what it looks like to go and just destroy cash deals, come talk to me. Come to my masterclass. I'll show you how to do it all for free at a high level and just go make money that actually makes sense for you. Okay, I'm done. I'm done, bro.
I love it. This was actually fun. Like, I think once we should have like once a week, or maybe once a week, we should like upload our accounts and like that's fun actually. Because I don't think we've done that for us, like for the Think Big. We've done it with the other groups, but like I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun. Because it's gonna make me want to make more money every single time. So, Sam, freaking love that. Oh my gosh. Let's not keep this going because we will, if we open up this can of worms, like this is me trying to go to bed the other night, right? Like it's like she's like, dude, didn't you say you're going to bed? I was like, yeah, but like I just like talking about this stuff. It gets me jazzed up. What I want to do is, John says, challenge accepted. Yo, what if, oh my gosh, I got a good idea. Okay, you know what? For any of you that are inside of my, like, if anyone's inside like my MMC community and you guys like are on Discord with me, I want you to go into the Discord, the general chat inside the MMC Discord and drop a picture of how much money you've earned in the last 30 days, right? And it's not as a judgment thing. Hell, you can be negative in there, but what's going to happen is the public accountability will help you. Like I want to stigmatize the conversation around money. If you're losing money, awesome. Let's talk about it so we can get you back on track. If you're making money, awesome. Let's talk about it so that we can understand how to reinforce that behavior and speed it up. If you're not in my MMC community and you're on Instagram right now, comment the word MMC. You'll get an automatic link. If you're on YouTube, go to my Instagram and click on the link in my bio. Go and join it. It's going to cost you $1. Go jump inside there, get in the Discord, get to be around us, and let's start doing this. I'm going to actually, Sam, this is fun. I'm making this, my entire community is basically every single week on this is how much money you're earning. So, by the way, Andrew, appreciate you commenting MMC, but not on YouTube. You'd have to comment it on my Instagram, or just go and click the link in my bio, or just go to mmc.mindsetmarlin.com. I promise y'all, I did not intend on like sharing that with y'all tonight, but like I'm always happy to share it though, because I love when people come into our community and we get to have these sort of conversations, and it's a two-way talk. Right? It's not a one-way street of me talking at you. It is a two-way conversation. Oh my gosh. Like, this is what happens when you're around good people. Like, I'm going to stop talking. Let's wrap it up. Guys, this was episode 67 of the Think Big podcast. And we had our awesome guest, Catherine, inside here. Please do me a favor. If you got value from today's episode in any way, shape, or form, first and foremost, leave a comment and let me know. Let us know. Let all of us know what was helpful, what was valuable, so that we can know, great, this is what the audience likes. This is what our community likes. Let's do more of this kind of topic, or let's talk less about this because they hate it, and we can make the show better for you. So number one is going to be leave a comment on what you enjoyed about today's episode. Number two, do the normal YouTube-y stuff, right? Like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. If you haven't turned on that subscription and you have not yet hit that notification so you can be updated when we go live, you are missing out, because Sam comes on here and drops masterclasses. Alejandro is sharing all the secrets behind his business. And I come on here and I drop actually a video every single day called the Daily Studies, where I'm breaking down. I'm a Christian. That's not cool to say anymore, but like I'm saying it regardless. I break down scripture, I break down like biblical principles, and I break down business and personal development. So for the people that are like, that's your vibe, come through and hang out. Next week, we will be back Tuesday at 5 p.m. Arizona time for episode 68 of the Think Big podcast. Just want to give a huge shout out right now to Crystal, to Josh, to John, to Jade, to Anthony, to Lynette, to all the people that come on and support the podcast. Seriously, we love you guys. We appreciate you. And we will see you back here next week.